Relief and rejoicing in New York for supporters of Sean Diddy Combs after the split verdict in his racketeering and sex trafficking trial. He was convicted of the prostitution-related offenses, but acquitted on the most serious charges that could have put him behind bars for life. This is a sketch from inside the courtroom just moments after the verdict was read. You can see Combs on his knees with his hands and head on his chair. Later, his family was seen celebrating on the street in New York City after leaving the courthouse.
And now let's get right to ABC's Rena Roy. She has been following the trial from the beginning. She joins us live outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan. Rena.
Yeah, Colleen and Mark, we have been here every single day. This trial lasted nearly 2 months. This was the third day of deliberations, and just about an hour in, we got word that yes, there was a verdict. And you saw that sketch. Combs was overcome with emotion. He got down on the ground, kneeling in prayer as he learned that he had been acquitted on the most serious charges.
Hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs found partially guilty in his federal criminal trial. The jury finding him not guilty of the most serious charge, racketeering conspiracy, but finding him guilty of counts 3 and 5, transportation to engage in prostitution. Combs also found not guilty of sex trafficking. The prosecution calling 34 witnesses over the course of more than 6 weeks, including ex-girlfriends, former Combs employees, and rapper Kid Cudi. Prosecutors argued Combs and his associates used his business as a criminal enterprise to lure and traffic his ex-girlfriends Cassie Ventura and a woman who testified under the pseudonym Jane. They both testified they felt forced into drug-fueled sex performances with male escorts that Combs referred to as freak-offs, hotel nights, or wild king nights. The jury seeing more than 1,000 exhibits, including photos of baby oil and lubricant, assault weapons, and drugs. This footage also at the heart of the case, showing Combs kicking and dragging Ventura in 2016 at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles after she says she tried to leave a freak off. The defense argued the women were willing participants in fulfilling Combs' sexual desires and that all the encounters we heard about in this trial were consensual. Ventura's lawyer releasing a statement saying in part, by coming forward with her experience, Cassie has left an indelible mark on both the entertainment industry and the fight for justice. The judge said he will decide today whether or not Combs will get released. He's giving prosecutors and the defense until this afternoon to write letters arguing for and against his release. Throughout the trial, Combs' family showing up almost every day in support. Rapper Kanye West, known as Ye, also coming to court one day.
Now, there will be a hearing at 5 p.m. Eastern inside the courtroom here where we'll learn if Combs will be released or not. Next up, he will face sentencing. He still faces up to 20 years in prison. Colleen, Mark.
Well, you have answered my question. I was wondering on that timing on when he potentially could be released. So 3 more hours to go, 2 p.m. there on the East. Rena Roy, you've been there from the very beginning. Thank you. So what does this verdict really mean? Joining us now to help understand that is Nima Rahmani.
Nima, thank you so much for joining us. You're a former prosecutor, federal prosecutor, and so were you surprised by this verdict?
Colin, I wasn't, and actually I predicted it. Look, I'm a former federal prosecutor and current victims' rights lawyer, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This was nothing less than a complete and total loss by the prosecution here. A partial verdict, really a slap on the wrist. This will go down as the most expensive prostitution trial in American history. And even though prosecutors are talking about 10 years potentially on each count, I was doing some back-of-the-napkin calculations. Under the federal sentencing guidelines, Combs may be looking at as little as 15 to 21 months. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets time served or close to it. He absolutely should be released from custody today. I would be surprised if the judge doesn't do so. And really, an overwhelming win, but also a complete rejection of the testimony of Cassie Ventura, victims Mia and Jane. I know Cassie's lawyer said that they were pleased with the verdict, but a prostitution verdict is not a win. And in fact, if Combs is guilty of prostitution, so is Cassie Ventura. She was paying and communicating with the sex workers herself. So I'm not in any way suggesting that Cassie should be prosecuted for prostitution, but this is nothing less than a huge win for the defense, and Combs must be ecstatic right now.
Yeah, it certainly seems like that is the case from the images that we've seen from the courtroom. And you spoke to this, you know, the 34 witnesses that the prosecution brought forward in this trial. Why was the racketeering charge, the most serious, do you think, so hard to prove?
It was hard. I mean, really, the sex trafficking was the weakest. And it was weak because Cassie was impeached and discredited with her own emails and text messages saying that she wanted to get freaky and couldn't wait to participate in the next freak off and loved doing so. There was nothing in writing that said that she didn't want to do this. And obviously, we did not see the freak off videos themselves, only the jurors could. But there was a reason the defense kept playing them for almost an hour. I believe that those videos showed Cassie seeming to enjoy herself sexually. Next, she had victim Mia, who was Diddy's assistant, and she never reported the sexual assault. Even when she spoke to prosecutors initially, she didn't mention it. And there were many social media posts where she said that she loved Diddy. This was her brother. Lastly, we had victim Jane, the most recent victim. And although there were some messages where she said she didn't want to participate in the hotel nights, she was getting money from Combs. She was getting a rent paid. She still is. Combs is paying for her lawyer. She was getting clothes, she was getting jewelry, she was getting vacations. And I think the jurors thought this was a transactional relationship. This is a woman who knew what she was getting herself into. And when it comes to racketeering, I thought maybe, just maybe, there was a path for the prosecution to get there without the sex charges, because we heard evidence of bribery, paying $100,000 for that hotel surveillance video, extortion, shaking down Regina Ventura, Cassie's mom, of $20,000, arson, blowing up Kid Cudi's car. But ultimately, the jurors did not believe that there was a criminal enterprise or a conspiracy. So they acquitted on that count. Now, that was the count that there were at least some jurors who wanted to convict on. We got that jury note yesterday. But we knew right away that the jurors were not guilty on sex trafficking. That was a very quick verdict for the prosecutor.
Wow, Nima, I feel like we could talk to you all afternoon and break this down, because we'd like to unpack the last 6 weeks of this testimony that took place. But we want to thank you so much for joining us today to help us understand exactly what is happening in the Sean Diddy Combs' case. But again, ABC News tonight, it's going to air a special called The Verdict, The Diddy Trial. You can watch it at 10 p.m. right here on ABC 7. It will stream on Hulu and Disney Plus tomorrow.